And now, Good Times Movies returns you back to the Saturday Night Fever remake starring John Travolta and Will Smith.
Stephanie, this is Joey. This is Double J. This is Bobby C.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
We just wash the hair.
Yes.
You know, I work on my hair a long time, and you hit it. He hits my hair.
Welcome to another episode of Good Times and Bad Movies. I'm Paul Ireland. Joining me as always is my fantastic co-host, Tim Two Slices Morrison. How are you, sir?
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
I'm really good, Tim. Very excited. Got my dancing shoes on today. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. This is an interesting one that we chose to do this time.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is really fun, Tim. Today we're doing 1997's Saturday Night Fever from Paramount Pictures. And this is like I said, 1977. So I don't know if a lot of people have seen this. So maybe we'll just kind of give you the premise up front here, because this one's an interesting one, Tim. So IMDb says, anxious about his future after high school, a 19-year-old Italian-American from Brooklyn tries to escape the harsh reality of his bleak family life by dominating the dance floor at the local disco.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. So this is my first time seeing it. I had never seen this movie before. I've seen the clips and stuff and know about like the Bee Gees and everything that provide the soundtrack for the movie for the most part. Have you ever seen it before?
No, before this, I mean, I think I probably sat through about 30 minutes of this before. I think about a year ago, I was with my brother-in-law. I was sitting down and I was like, let's just watch this. I got a good feeling about this. And I think I made it through about half an hour of this, like I said. And I just felt bad for the guy. And I was like, all right, I'll cut you loose. We'll just watch something else. I think most of my experience through the show is, through pop culture, seeing, Travolta do the little point and staying alive kind of dancing. But I think for me, and I've seen this movie before, basically by watching that 70s show. Have you ever seen the episode, Tim, where they go to, there's a disco that opens up in town, okay? And they decide to go to this disco, and basically nobody gets let in except for the girls and Fez. And then everybody else is standing outside this whole episode getting so mad trying to get in. And he goes in there and he is basically John Travolta. His exact moves he does. It's like they obviously just took the movie and they just choreographed it, right? But like, it's amazing. So I was like, damn, like I've seen this before. And Fez is a great dancer. I mean, Travolta's a great dancer in this too. We're going to see as well. But so that's basically, that's my experience up until this point, And then I finally sat down and I watched this whole movie. And I got to tell you, the reason why I thought we should talk about this is just like the ending of this movie just takes, I guess right now I won't spoil anything, but a weird left turn, to say the least.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I had no idea where this movie was going when I first watched it. Honestly, I watched this, I think 3 or 4, probably 4 times, just because the first time I watched it, I was like kind of doing stuff and like watching it in the background. And like, even like halfway through, I was like, did I miss something? Because I don't really know what this is about. Like, besides the dancing, there's a lot of dancing in it, but well, as we'll find out, there's way more going on with this than just dancing, I think. I don't know. This movie is really weird to me. And I don't really want to give like my full blown opinion until we get to like the very end. But this was really good this is a really good choice, considering that neither of us have seen it. So I'm going to enjoy both of us getting to react to it right now. Oh, by the way, this is the first movie that John Travolta danced in.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think I don't know where I saw that. Maybe when I was like skimming through Wikipedia or something like that. So I think this was before Grease.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he went into Grease right after this. Because I've done some research on this movie. Because I had some fun digging into this one. I'll tell you, I was on vacation, so I just had nothing but time to look into Saturday Night Fever. So I found out a few things about this movie. So this is not our first John Travolta movie. Okay, we have sat down before. We watched the Fred Durst classic, The Fanatic, right? Where John Travolta plays a very different character, I'll just say, than any other thing he's ever played in the movie. But you mentioned before that he had a bit of a singing career. And for those who haven't ever heard of that before, please just look up Razzmatazz. The song Razzmatazz, okay? I'm just curious, was this song in and around this time? Like, do you know that offhand if it was released around then, or?
I actually don't know right off the top of my head, but I'm going to assume that it was released after Grease. So like maybe like near around this time because he sang in Grease, right? So I want to say that yeah, I don't know. I think it was after this movie. John Travolta is 23 years old, I think, in this movie.
It just seemed like that was a fairly fitting time for him just to release that song Razzmatazz. That's what I just thought of. I was like, this Travolta dance in the club right now. Like, this is a story of Tony Manero.
The Ballad of Tony Manero, Razzmatazz.
That's right. It's Razzmatazz. This movie is insane. This movie is insane. Okay.
I feel like there's some of this that we may not even be able to like explain accurately just because of the content of it. But we'll see what we can do here.
I guess we're dancing around this, no pun intended. So we should just get into this. What do you think, Tim?
All right, let's grab our paint cans and go strutting.
Let's strut, Tim.
So this movie starts off with an aerial shot of the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm assuming the camera operator is like sitting in a helicopter or something because it's kind of circling around the bridge. And then we're just looking at Brooklyn. And I don't know, in the 70s, Brooklyn looked pretty dirty.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but I mean, as far as the way it's been portrayed in film and stuff, we're seeing a subway, a pretty rickety looking subway, and it's just like covered in spray paint. But maybe that's pretty common everywhere. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I've never been to New York, but it seems like it's a whole other world, right? And New York, I think, it's like Gotham. Like that's like Gotham, like that's the Joker. That's basically what that movie is, right? That's the world they're showing you. And that's kind of where Tony Manero lives. So I guess he lives in the world of Batman, potentially. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
We're about to meet the star of the movie here, John Travolta, as Tony Manero. As you described in the beginning, he's a young Italian living in Brooklyn. And he is strutting down the street. He has he has some really nice red dancing shoes on, black slacks, nice button up red shirt with I think maybe a leather shirt or a leather coat right after it. And he's strutting down the street. This reminds me of Spider-Man 3 when he was dancing. But he's not going quite as far as Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3. But again, he's not wearing any headphones or anything, and he looks like he's dancing. By the way, he's carrying a can of paint. I wouldn't have guessed that he actually works at a paint store. I don't know why that wasn't my first guess, but like for this whole opening scene when I was first watching the movie, I was like, where's he going with that paint dressed right nice like that? But it turns out he's just a customer service rep in a paint store.
Yeah, well, he's out. We're gonna find out in a second here. He's out actually grabbing some paint from another store and bringing it back to his place. But along the way, he stops off. So first of all, we got to set the tone here too. Like Bee Gees, obviously you mentioned this before. They play a huge part of this movie, and drop this little tidbit down too. Basically, what happened was the producers of this film, I think it was the producer of this film, was looking for music for this movie, and he called up the Bee Gees and he was like, "Hey guys, do you want to write some songs for me for this thing?" And they said that they were doing, they were in the middle of, I think, mixing a live album or something, right? So they were like, "No, we can't do that for you, buddy." So they were like, "Do one better for you, though." All right, you know what they said to him? They were like, "We've got like a half an album written right now. We got 6 songs. Do you want to hear these 6 songs and you can tell us what you think?" And they literally had "How Deep Is Your Love," "You Should Be Dancing," "Night Fever," "Staying Alive." They had a bunch of these songs written, and they were like, "Here you go. What do you think?" And the guy was like, "I love this. I want to put this in my movie. These are going to be the songs." So this is basically how half the soundtrack got made, was just they were like, "We love these songs. We're just going to use them in this movie." And they're like, "Cool." And then they wrote a couple extra songs for this. So anyways, the point of the story is, Jesus, Paul, that was really long. Sorry, guys. The point of the story is Staying Alive is playing here. Okay. That was the longest way to explain that. Staying Alive is playing here.
We get it. They're really, the Bee Gees are really important.
So that's going on.
Yeah. He's strutting down the street too, Staying Alive.
All right. Tony Manero, this young kid with his little red collar popped with the leather jacket and the tight pants. And he stops at a pizza store. Okay. And the lady's like, "Hey, Tony, how are you? Two or three today?" And he's like, two, that's good. And then he just stands there for like 5 minutes, okay? And then he gets his pizza, and he's cramming 2 slices of pizza folded in half in his face.
Yeah, he's double stacking them.
He's got pizza sauce all over his face while he's walking down the street, just strutting, having a good time while the Bee Gees are going on in the background. I think this is the greatest scene in this movie. It's awesome. Tony here, strutting down the road here, got pizza on his face, gets into the paint store. And what happens is he pulled a bit of a hustle, is he went to another paint shop across town, bought paint off them, and then he basically marked up the price of the paint and gave this lady a bit of a discount. He goes, because she was pissed off because she's sitting there for 30 minutes waiting for this paint.
So it's near the end of the workday, and Tony is expressing to his manager, who was trying to give Tony advice, that he's really not worried about the future. Dancing and going out at night is Tony's life. And then he heads home. And when we're at home, we see that he has a younger sister, and he lives with his parents, with his younger sister. His father is unemployed, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. We're just going to fast forward to a montage of Tony Manero getting ready in the mirror.
He's blow drying his hair.
He's getting ready to the song Night Fever by the Bee Gees, which is actually a pretty awesome song. It's really weird because it's just like, he's just staying there. He puts like one necklace on at a time, using a hairdryer to dry his hair, putting on his clothes really slow. I don't know. If I didn't know any better, he was trying to seduce himself, like in the mirror. He looks like he's just like staring at himself. Oh, and he also only has a Speedo on too for the first part of it. It's really,
those are like 70s underwear. You know what I mean? They're just like tidy whities, but they're just like dark. It's like the black tight little, huggers. I don't really know what to call them. They're just like, they're pretty form fitting.
Yeah. So he's got his pink slacks on tonight. He's combing he's combing his pompadour and dancing in the mirror, and he's getting ready to head out.
I'm telling you, this is like, honestly, as I'm watching this, I just see Fez from that 70s show.
Tony is about to head out to town and meet his friends. His friends pick him up in this, I don't even know what kind of car that is, but some old car from the 70s. So Tony gets into the car with his 4 other friends, Joey, Double J, and Gus, and Bobby C.
Just to set the tone of where this movie is going, folks. Tony is getting in the car. Someone apparently almost closes the door on his hand. And we're just going to play you Tony's reaction.
You know, you assholes almost broke my pussy finger.
Wow. I didn't realize that this was like kind of like a bit of a raunchy movie. It surprised me a little bit, but then, yeah, that's nothing.
I mean, you're right there. That is literally not even the tip of the iceberg in this movie. That is like a chunk of ice floating out in the water. We're like, oh, that's something. This is just like, this movie gets crazy.
On their way to the club, Tony tells them that no one's allowed to do any drugs until he says so. And I don't know why. They're just talking about doing like a bunch of speed uppers and downers and stuff. They get into this club and they found a table. 5 of them are sitting around the table here. And this girl named Annette comes up, and she's really into Tony and just kind of likes these guys. And they're kind of mouthy to each other. Tony kind of makes a joke saying that he doesn't want to ask her to sit down because he knows the answer would be yes. So Tony's kind of mean to this girl.
Kind of mean. Kind of mean. I'm not going to spoil anything, but this poor girl. This poor girl. So before we get to the dance floor, we just the writing in this movie is sometimes, quite raw and aggressive. Probably somewhat uncalled for, I would say, in a lot of instances. But sometimes it's also, I guess, kind of lame. I don't know what. There's some weird lines in this movie, and there's some weird interactions. So before they get to the dance floor, Annette is asking Tony to dance. And they have a little bit of an interaction here. So we're just going to play you a little clip.
Well, I mean, I could dance with you, but, you're not my dream girl or nothing like that.
You want a dream girl? Well, then go to sleep and have a nightmare.
Roasted.
Okay, what?
I didn't really understand what that meant either.
Yeah, I felt like someone was that an improvised line or
I don't know what that means. It was a very poor comeback.
go to sleep and have a nightmare. But then they go and dance right away.
Yeah, they immediately go to the dance floor and yeah, start dancing with each other.
The DJ in this movie too, Monty. I think this guy is. I love when this guy's on the screen. This guy is hilarious.
He reminds me of like someone who would be in like porn or something, like in like in 70s porn, like the big mustache and his chest hair hanging out and big, or Bob Ross even.
If I was gonna like recast this movie now into 2022, I would honestly, I think like you would have like a celebrity, someone like Will Ferrell. I would have be this guy, this character, because I think he's hilarious. He seems like he's having a great time. So like I like this character. He doesn't do anything wrong in this movie. Yeah, I think he's one of the only people that doesn't do anything wrong in this movie, honestly.
Maybe, yeah, he's sticking to his job. Well, we don't know what's going on when the camera's not on him. Yeah, I think he's probably a sketchy dude. Everybody is. He'd be the only one that wasn't.
I don't want to believe Monty is, but you're probably right. The DJ, he's probably got a bunch of drugs and stuff going on back there and selling liquor to underage people and, something bad. Monty's probably a scumbag. You're right. No one's good in this world, Tim.
The person working beside him looks like she's like 14 years old. So, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, let's hit the dance floor, Tim. What do you say?
So John Travolta and Annette have hit the dance floor, and John Travolta basically does a thing where he's kind of shuffling his arms and bouncing and dancing around in circles. It's pretty ridiculous. And then he does this move where there's a I don't know if there's an actual term for it, but he's basically pointing a lot. Like there's a lot of pointing in disco, like when you're pointing at her. So he goes like kind of high and points at her head, around her neck, and then starts pointing at her waist and pointing at her knees. And, it's just pointing her out all over the place and pointing at the ceiling. And then they trade off, and then he puts his hands up, and then she starts pointing at him all over the place.
While he's pointing, right, he's got this floral pink and white shirt on with these really, really skinny, tight, like bell-bottom pink, these like salmon-colored pants and the like I said, bell-bottoms and platform shoes. And he's just kind of like he's just kind of thrusting his hips while he's kind of pointing his hands up and down all around her. And she's kind of just standing there. You're right, just taking it all in. And then she kind of points at him a little bit and looks sort of disinterested. But they just had this crazy interaction of like, he's like kind of like, yeah, I guess I'll dance with you, but like, I really just don't care. And she's like, shut up. And then they just go and do this.
Yeah. And they seem like they have a whole choreographed routine because after a while, they're doing the exact same moves.
Well, and you know what? We're going to see in this movie too. There's like, at some points, honestly, there's like disco line dancing going on. So I feel like in the 70s, there must have been just you go to the club and there's certain moves, right? Like, like when like rap now and stuff. Oh, I'm pretty much out of the new rap game now, right? But like, I'm gonna date myself so bad here. But like so when the Soldier Boy tell him, like, so you like that dance. That's like a dance, right? Or the whip and the nay why may whip, like they did. There's like a dance to that, right? Or whatever the new thing is now. Oh man, I can't even say Dougie because that's like, Jesus, where did I fall off the rap game? Anyways, Travis Scott doesn't have any rap moves or dances, so I don't know what to say, man. But you know what I mean? Like those things. So I feel like, yeah, there's probably certain songs that's like the hustle. Do the hustle. You do the hustle to the hustle, right? I guess. So there's probably certain songs where like everyone, we know these moves and everything else is just sort of a free for all. It's like a disco mosh pit.
I bet there's probably a whole like fighting sequence for kung fu fighting. You're
probably right. Is that a disco song though?
Yeah. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Yeah, it's totally disco. Where else were they listening to that? Of course, they had to be listening to disco place. Yeah.
It's like doing like a piece of like Party in the USA.
I'd still disagree. I think it's totally a disco song.
It's a dancey song.
I bet it's probably on Soul Train. I bet if you looked on like the old Soul Train show, I bet there's like a train of people dancing to that song.
You might be right. I'll put it this way: if it's on Soul Train, then you win. I'll say that it's a disco song. That's more like funk too, right? Like it's not like they just play
it's definitely funky.
No, I just mean like Soul Train. Like they did play just disco stuff, right? It's like this like funk R&B, like So someone let us know. Way in out there on the internet, folks. Let us know if you think Kung Fu Fighting is a disco song Or is it just like a dance kind of funky song? Just listen to the guitar. That's all I'm saying. And listen to the... Okay, you're right, though. They're dancing. Okay. All right. Everyone's dancing on Soul Train.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're totally into it.
You're right. There's a dance for that. Oh. You just can't be playing Kung Fu Fighting mid-podcast here. We're going to get really sidetracked, start dancing around. So amongst all this dancing, this alleged Kung Fu Fighting and Soul Train dancing and stuff, the dance floor kind of clears out and this salsa kind of like merengue. I don't know what this is. It's like a, a Latin number comes on. And he comes over and he's like, Monty, this sucks. Turn this crap off. And he's like, hey, baby, she likes it. Turns around and there is this girl, Stephanie. And Stephanie is now, she's just tearing the dance floor up. And she's dancing to this hot Latin number, just having a good time with this guy who looks kind of like the principal from Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. That's who this guy kind of looked like.
Yeah, he does a little bit. He's
like 47 years old, and he's in a nightclub with a bunch of 20-year-olds. What is going on right now? How old is this girl? I mean, we'll find out later. I think she's like 25 or like 30 or something. But like, geez Louise, what is going on here? Is this just what happened in the 70s? People in your 50 just showed up to the discos and...
Yeah, I think that's kind of mean. I think... I don't know. I don't think there's like, I think it depends on how like able you are. I mean, it's odd to see like someone like a senior citizen, maybe someone in their 60s, but there's people, I don't know. I haven't gone to a disco before, so I don't know, but I think people up into their 50s probably go out.
I'm just looking at this guy, and it's just like maybe he's not like 47, right? I could be exaggerating a tad bit, people out there. Just letting you know, but he's dressed like he's 47 or 50s, but it's the 70s too, right? So everyone's wearing brown and button down stuff and gray, and it's like, what's this guy doing? He looks really adult, and everyone else is kind of like this disco person, right? He stands out like a sore thumb. I guess I don't even know how does a sore thumb stand out anyways? Do you know how that works? Is it just because you can't close your hand or something? Is that why?
Well, yeah, it stands out because there's almost like nothing you can do with your hand without noticing that sore thumb.
I could just have my hands down, but okay, we're getting sidetracked here.
No, it's not for other people, for you, because you notice a sore thumb. It's not like you have a sore thumb and other people around are just like, oh, look at his sore thumb. It's because it sticks out to you.
Hey, you got a sore thumb. You're like, yeah. No, I don't.
Yeah, no, it's for you. And if you had a sore thumb, it would stick out really bad to you.
Okay, fair enough. Any kind of discomfort or pain, I feel like, would like that's like you stick out like a shotgun to the leg. You're like, yeah, thanks, man. I know. I would notice that too, sir. Okay, we're getting sorry. We're getting sidetracked. So,
Paul, do you miss your fucking Ritalin today?
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry. So Stephanie dances with this guy. I don't know how old he is. We'll leave it alone. Tony is frustrated. He goes off into another room now. And Annette kind of follows him. There is apparently in the background just a stripper dancing right now.
It's very distracting because it seems like it's supposed to be like a serious scene too. with Annette, Tony and Annette are just sitting there talking about potentially being partners for an upcoming contest. I guess like in a week or two or something like that on a Saturday night. And yeah, while they're doing that, this girl is just like, I don't know how to describe it, but she's just in the back dancing and like she's near naked. And it's very quiet. And like, she's not dancing seductively necessarily. She's like full on like kind of, I don't know.
It's a little aggressive. It's what I would call like 70s stripping, right? Because it's more like, it's supposed to be like teasing stuff. It's a lot of like her grabbing her like bra and like shaking it around and stuff. And you're like, it's very awkward. And she's got like a thong thing on. And but this whole thing is going on here. And there's like this really sad dramatic music playing. And this girl is like doing this weird striptease dance thing up on the stage. Okay. And Tony's standing there and Annette is just like hounding him, basically being like, why don't you go out with me? And he's like not into her. But the main takeaway from that is the 2001 Odyssey is going to be holding a dance competition and she wants to partner up with Tony. And Tony says basically like, I will partner up with you, but that's it. We're not in a relationship. This isn't a thing. Because she's just like drive into the hoop on Tony hard. For whatever reason, this character, Annette, this poor girl, just for bad, definitely for worse, just really likes Tony.
That's the end of the night. We kind of fade to the next morning where Tony is back home in bed, back in his tighty whities, and he looks like he's kind of hungover, and he sits up in bed. And maybe you can explain this to me, Paul, but I didn't really understand this, and I watched this a few times. He sits in bed, he reaches into his underwear and touches himself for like, I don't know, 2 or 3, like a few seconds, and then takes his hand out, and he's thinking, and that's it. Then he goes and looks in the mirror. Why did this? What's going on here? Is there something I'm missing? Why is he touching himself? Why is this in the movie?
Really, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think he's making an adjustment down. That's what it seems like. Because, again, underwear in the 70s, they don't have the same underwear game we have today. Our underwear, it's like, you get pretty comfy stuff, right, man? Like those Lululemons rocking around, like, whew, those are nice. Boys hang out. You're good. You're secure in those. In the 70s, it's just like, here's this like little cup that we're going to put your stuff in. That's what it seemed like, right?
Yeah, those look awful. So, okay, well, I guess that he's picking himself up. So Tony's gone to work, and at work, he's lucky enough to get a raise. I think he was making like $2 an hour, and now he's making $4. And he's pretty happy about that. He goes home. He's late for supper, but as he's helping clean up the dishes, his dad's still sitting there, and he tells his dad that he got a $4 raise. And at first, his dad seems like, or actually, he told his dad that he had a raise, and his dad's pretty happy about it until he tells him that he's only just making $4, and he only got like a $2 raise or something. And yeah, his dad just kind of bashes him. He's like, "What? That's all you got?" And his father hasn't been working for 6 months. His, his dad makes no money, and he's just like totally criticizing Tony here for not getting a good enough raise.
So Tony's like, I knew you'd piss on it, Dad. And then he storms out of the house. And now he goes off to meet Annette. And they're going to go and practice their dance moves.
Yeah, Annette's like waiting outside for him down the street just because she likes the way he walks. So Tony and Annette have their little dance lesson. And he notices that this girl that he saw at the club named Stephanie is also training for dancing in the same place. And they're talking about maybe being partners for the contest. Annette doesn't know that, though. She's going to be awfully disappointed.
It's the least of her worries in this movie, unfortunately.
So then Tony gets home, and his parents are like super depressed because it turns out that his older brother is home, and he has decided to leave the priesthood. And he is no longer a priest. And his parents are really upset about that. And now he's sleeping in Tony's room. And they kind of have a heart-to-heart. That whole side story is like really pointless. It really doesn't have much impact on the movie whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah, Frank is he's lost his faith, I guess, and he's just kind of stepped back from the priesthood, right? Doesn't want to do it anymore. Like we're gonna see, he kind of comes in and out of this story a little bit here, but Tony obviously looks up to this character, Frank, right? In a world where Tony is the person that basically all this peer group look up to, this is the guy that Tony looks up to, right? Like in let's put in Good Times and Bad Movies term, it's like in Roadhouse when Sam Elliott showed up. He's Dalton's guy. That's his guru. That's the guy who taught him everything, right? I mean, Frank didn't teach him how to dance, but that's what Tony's been working on as a little brother. On the side there, he's been learning how to dance at the nightclub. He's doing pretty good. So John Travolta and his brother Frank fall asleep in their little race car beds, and they wake up the next morning. And Travolta, presumably without a can of paint this time, he's going down the road, and he's going to the dance studio to go meet Stephanie because they're going to work on the routine. And he walks in the club, and this weird owner, the guy who owns this club, he's dressed like a professional bowler, I thought. Not really like a disco guy. More like like I said, like a professional bowler, but like if John Waters was a professional bowler, I guess.
He looks like John Waters.
And they're doing disco line dancing again to Disco Duck. But it's like a bunch of like executives is what it looks like. A bunch of people that like work in an office are dancing here at like 1:30 on a Tuesday, apparently. Like, what is this?
Well, I think that's the idea, but I think it's like just to show you that there's like a whole bunch of people that are like not hip to the scene, like trying to get into it.
I guess so. It's so crazy. Like looking at some of these adults, it's just like you guys like really just even dressed up just to go to a dance studio. You know, it's like you're not even wearing like sweatpants. It's like that's people used to dress up, man. Not anymore, eh? No one dresses up anymore. We're just wearing like just like literally like especially where I live. There's a bunch of people walking around in sleep pants, and you're like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, get your life together. Stop wearing sleep pants out.
Well, I think the quarantine did that to a lot of people.
No, but even before quarantine, man, there's just
Oh yes, that's everywhere.
you're like, come on, put some pants on. So Tony goes to the studio and he meets Bowling John Waters there, and he tells him where Stephanie is, and so Tony goes off to meet Stephanie, and I guess they're kind of working on their routine now. And we're gonna see in this movie, it's like Tony is just trying really hard to put the moves on this girl, and she is just shutting him down at every chance here. Like this is just like it's just a non-starter with her.
Yeah, she seems like she's like super sophisticated. I get the impression that they're the same age, but she seems to be like doing really well in business. Like she's kind of a name dropper. She talks about like meeting, I think, Jimi Hendrix, Laurence Olivier or something like that. Like just these really big actors and artists from the 70s. And yeah, Tony really doesn't have a clue about anything that she's talking about. He's never even heard of like I think it was Bob Dylan or something like that, Cat Stevens. And yeah, that's the idea. She's supposed to be a big shot and wants nothing to do with Tony sexually. And that does not stop his advances in any kind of way. At the end of like after they have dinner, he's like sort of walking her home. They're kind of walking together, and she decides she's like, "Well, this is where we split up." And he's like, "What? I can't walk you home?" And she's like, "No," and walks away. And Tony has like a whole like a toddler meltdown. He's like, "Gosh darn it!" and like kicks a trash can out, and like I don't know. It's just a little bit too much, in my opinion. It's like a pretty big overreaction for someone who has told you that they are not interested in you, and you're freaking out because they won't let you walk them home. But whatever. She leaves, and Tony meets up with 3 of his other friends because something bad has happened. They're freaking out.
So Tony meets up with his friends, and it looks like there's a gang, the Barracudas or the Barons. They've kind of got Gus. They beat him up really badly, and now he's in the hospital. So Tony and his friends, they jump in the car and they spring into action, and they're cruising around now, and they're looking for these guys. And they kind of stop off at their clubhouse, and they don't see anybody in there. They get really mad to get back in the car, and they got like a bunch of like switchblades and stuff too. It's like I forgot, like people in the 70s carrying knives. Just like what is going on? Like you guys are nuts, man. What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, it's not even that. It's like New York in the 70s. Probably a lot of people carried weapons around with them.
I guess so, but it's like so it's like you guys just dress up like you do, and you go disco dance, but you carry around these little switchblades and butterfly knives. Like what? Like was this West Side Story? What the hell is this?
It's not far off from West Side Story, really.
What's going on in this, right? So they jump in the car and they're looking for these guys, and thankfully they don't run into them. So what happens is they kind of decide that they're going to cool off. Let's just go home. We'll regroup and we'll talk about it later. And they go home, and Frank's there at the house, and they have another sort of blow up at the table again, as a dysfunctional family does.
Basically, it ends with Tony yelling at his mother, saying, "Ha! Now that my brother's not in the priesthood anymore, and I don't really have much of a career going on. You got 3 shitty children. How does that make you feel?" and she's bawling her eyes out because I guess she believes that. And the funny thing about it is that like I don't know why he had to say that about his sister, like his 14-year-old sister. Like what like just because like, the 2 older brothers have failed in life, he's like, "Ha! All 3 of your children suck."
It's like, you see her? She's not even graduated high school yet. What an idiot. I couldn't believe that scene. Honestly, I kind of laughed a little bit. I was like, what is going on right now? I was taken aback. I couldn't believe this guy, the delight in John Travolta, just being like, "Yeah, your kids suck, Mom." But obviously, that's just a reflection on how angry Tony feels at himself and society and life around him. And he's just like, guess what? Like, he's just spiteful, obviously, because he's very bitter right now.
Tony leaves. He kind of storms out of the house, decides it's time to go practice dancing. And outside of the studio is Annette waiting for him to practice. And he breaks the news to her. He's like, "It's really hard for me to tell you this, but I'm not going to be your partner for the competition. I'm going to go with Stephanie instead. In fact, she's waiting inside, waiting for me right now. So you need to leave." And Annette is, she's got this crush on Tony. She's just heartbroken. She starts crying. And Tony's like, oh, come on, my mother and now you, get out of here. Kind of like shoves her, kind of grabs her face and shoves her away and walks into the, he doesn't actually do that, but he might as well. And then he walks into the studio and kind of leaves Annette crying. And then it's time for a nice montage of Tony and Stephanie practicing for the contest.
So Tony and Stephanie are done dancing now, and they're done listening to that weird, awkward pan flute version of More Than a Woman, and they're walking down the street having a nice little end of their evening here. And Tony wants to ask Stephanie a question. His question is, am I intelligent and am I interesting? And let's hear her answer.
Interesting, yeah. Intelligent? No, maybe.
In all fairness, it's fair enough. He doesn't seem very intelligent, but good on her for being honest.
Well, what do you know? All right.
And he goes, "Dadoy."
Okay, yeah. That's like she just roasts him to his face, and he's just like, all right, this is great. He's like, you might think I might be intelligent. This is cool. This is awesome. Like,
He's like, so you're saying there's a chance?
yes, that was it. That was instantly what I thought of was Lloyd Christmas, right? Like, he's an idiot. So the boys are going out now, and it's probably Saturday night, and they got the fever, so they're gonna go out and disco dance. They head to the club, and Tony's got his brother Frank with him now too in tow. So they're all going out, and Tony's eager to show him some moves. And there's one point here where Tony is dancing, and he sort of breaks away for a solo number. And I thought it'd be really fun here, Tim, if you sort of took everybody through the motions here and just brought us into the world of Saturday Night Fever. And let's go over Tony's dance moves here on the solo.
Yeah, so basically, Tony here wants to show off for his brother. I think he wants to show his brother what his his life is really all about. And this song starts, and Tony kind of gets a strut on and walks into the middle, and everybody just forms a giant, you would think a circle, but it's actually a big rectangle. Anyways, he's on a really cool dance floor that's like lighting up, a bunch of different colored lights and dots, different patterns on the floor. And John Travolta, for the beginning of it, is basically just kind of shaking his pelvis and pointing at everyone, like really slowly, like turning around in a circle, moving back and forth, walking forward, and then power walking backwards. And just a lot of shaking your pelvis and pointing. He does that little wavy thing with your hands. I don't know what you call it, but it's like the wave.
I would call it the wave.
Yeah, you join your hands together and you kind of do a little wave, little motion wave.
I love that move. He does that. There's one point in this thing where he just holds that for like a good 5 seconds, and he just waving it.
Yeah, it does it like at his chest level and then above his head, and a lot more pointing, like point, like he'll go point with the left, point with the right, tap his left foot. It's kind of like a little bit of a hokey pokey kind of stuff if you've ever seen it. Just a lot more rhythm to it. And then at one point he's doing this. It's actually kind of cool. He's kind of like rolling around on the floor, but not really rolling. He's like, I don't know. It looks like something you'd see like a UFC fighter practice doing or something like that. Like a little bit of a weird rollover maneuvers and stuff. And near the end of this whole thing, he does a dance, like a Russian dance. Like how exactly how you picture Russians dancing, like the little thing where you're holding your arms, you have your arms folded and you're just kind of throwing your shins out, but you're like bent in a sitting position. And it kind of made me think at that moment too. Do you think like disco music is influenced by like Russia, like the song like Rasputin and stuff? It's like
no, that's just
Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen.
Yeah, no, the guy Rasputin was like a real person, right? So it's like,
yeah.
I don't know why they wrote the song. It's obviously, songs sometimes are about historical figures, but no, I don't think disco was influenced by Russia. I don't think it's a kind of a depressing time. You're talking about communism. I don't think people are disco dancing, right?
True.
So
yeah, this dance goes on for like almost the entire song. It kind of cuts away for a moment to Bobby talking to Frank, Tony's brother here, and Bobby has a conundrum in that his girlfriend, whom he's not married to, is pregnant, and he wants to, I guess this is bad for his religion. He must come from a religious family. And he wants to know, instead of marrying her, could he get the Pope to bless an abortion? And his brother's like, no, you can't.
What?
It seems like they're clearly making this guy. He seems kind of slow. Like I feel bad for this one. Like all of these group of friends are quite obnoxious, like put together even individually. But this guy seems like a nice guy who just can't seem to get anything going.
I don't know. I really don't.
I don't know. I mean, like he's the nice. If I was forced to hang out with any one of these ones, I'd probably hang out with him.
I think you just take pity on this guy more than anything.
Yeah, that's a.
I don't really think that's a great quality. I mean, I just gotta say, like, honestly, like, there's really, like I said, there's really no good people in this movie. Probably not the disco guy, Monty. He's probably bad too. Poor Annette, though.
So, Tony and his friends are sitting at a table, presumably doing a bunch of drugs or something, and Annette comes over, and she tells Tony, "Hey, guess what?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "We can actually start having sex now because we're not partners. We're not dance partners anymore. So that professional aspect of our relationship is gone." And Tony's like, "Give me a break." And like, really, this girl, I don't know. I feel bad for her, but at the same time, like, take a hint. Like, he's snubbed her as a partner and like, it kind of just insults her on the fly. Like, he really doesn't seem to value her in any kind of way or treat her with any form of respect. Yet she keeps on like just wanting him. So he's like, "Well, you know what? Maybe I will just have sex with you tonight."
Yeah, so what happens is Tony's in the car with Annette, and things are getting hot and heavy. And he's like, "You got one of those IOU things?" And she's like, "What?" And
Are you fixed? Are you fixed?
yeah, like, yeah, are you fixed? That's what he asked this poor girl. Like, Annette, these are all red flags. Please, what are you doing? But so this all gets broken up by Tony's friends, who are just completely upstanding citizens, and they're all like, "Let's go drive out now that we're all loaded to the Brooklyn Bridge, and we're gonna just see." Apparently, this is just a regular thing. It seems like these guys do right now. The guys pull up to the bridge here. Okay, in this movie, this really confused me. What happens here now? Like, it got kind of serious here for a second, and there is points in this movie where there is humor injected into this, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of funny," but this was weird. This was one of these moments in this movie where I was like, why did we need to just, I mean, obviously it's going to set something up for later, but like, we just didn't need any of this stuff. I felt like this was a wild detour in this movie. But the guys show up to the Brooklyn Bridge now, and they're just drunk and disco line dancing on the bridge, on the edge of these like steel girders and stuff, with just water underneath them. Like, they're just like cool with this.
Yeah, they swing right out on like the grab a hold of like cables and like swing out to like the outer areas where the construction workers and stuff would like do maintenance and stuff. Like, it seems.
Yeah. This is like a drunk parkour course or something right now, and they're playing with the lights and stuff, and like, I just like couldn't believe this in the 70s. You'd be able to just pull over like this and climb on this stuff and not have the cops show up in 2 seconds.
Well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of places are still like that, probably.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know where the cops are. It's like, whose bridge is that, right? But
At one point, Tony Monero is just like kind of on this on like a really narrow part, high up. He starts like kind of shuffling and going like, cha, 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 cha. And he's like shaking his hips and stuff and like having a really good time and smiling. And he looks at Annette and says this line. I don't really understand it, but he goes, "Hey, Annette, can you dig it? I knew that you could." And like, I guess that's supposed to be like some kind of a hip line, but yeah. So he does that, and then one of the other friends, he jumps off of this beam and hangs off of like, I don't know, a cylinder like pipe object or something like that, and slips off. And Annette's like freaked out. It looks like he just fell. Annette peers over, and she's like completely distraught. She looks traumatized already. And below her are like the three friends. They're just like standing there and laughing because they just freaked her out.
yeah, there's like a little platform just underneath, and it looked like they all just jumped to their doom. It was like kind of like almost like a Lost Boys moment. This point in this movie really, this blew me back for a second. I was like, oh my God, did these guys just die? And just standing there, because I was with Annette for a second. I was like, where are we going with this? And of course, they think, thankfully, they're still alive. They're just standing there laughing at her, all hammered and stuff. So, it's the 70s and no one's around. So they just get up and drive in their car again, loaded, and go back home.
So we skip ahead to Tony going back to his job. It must be like later on in the evening or something like that. And he apologizes for his outburst and asks for his job back. And his owner, apologizes to and says that you can have your job back. Look, you're going to be here for a long time. And he kind of points around to like the other coworkers in there, and they're out and says like, this guy's been here for 35 years and so on and so forth. And Tony sort of kind of starts to reflect a little bit and thinks like, maybe I don't want to be here for a long time. Anyways, they leave on a happy note. And when he goes outside, Annette is out there waiting for him again, and she has a handful of condoms. Because she wants to show him that she has protection against getting pregnant. And Tony's just like, give me a break, and like walks away, and the condom just slowly fall out of her hand as she breaks down and cries.
It's like, like at the start of Batman, every time that Bruce Wayne's parents get murdered and you just see the pearls, always that shot of the pearls getting ripped apart and falling down. Maybe Tim Burton saw this movie and was like, I like that shot. He's like, I'm going to use that one day for something.
Yeah, it looked really sad.
He put his own spin on it. Yeah.
So Tony's going to meet up with his friends here now. And they've got they know where the club is for the, I don't know, the Barracudas, I think, is the name of this Latino gang. And they're kind of like, they're plotting their entrance of like what they're going to do in the car. And I can't remember the name of the guy that's driving, but the person who's driving is like, no way, I got this. And he just slams on the gas and slams right into this little clubhouse building. And this disco brawl breaks out.
You're right. It's awesome. This slow-mo car comes crashing through and all the boys jump out. This is like they're kind of like the T-Birds right now dressed up is what this is, And there's like some funk music going on stuff here. And it's just, yeah, this girl is dressed like a lumberjack with purple pants, and she jumps on Tony, and then he like just starts fighting people. Like there's like, this is incredible what happens here, this fight scene. This is it's a little better than Happy Days, but it's not much better. But the fighting in it is amazing because Tony is just like kicking people in the face here and like almost kind of fight dancing is what's going on, right? And there's like, yeah, like I said, there's this girl that shows up at one point, and just one of the guys just hauls off and belts this chick. And I know, like, you should be hitting women, but it was a moment out of like a Will Ferrell movie is what this seemed like, because they're just pulling people off each other, fighting people, and all of a sudden this girl just comes out of nowhere and he's just like, pow, just punches her and just decks this chick. It was hilarious and horrifying.
So then Bobby, the kind of odd one here, shows up with the car. Or I guess they backed the car out, and he went driving around the block for a little bit, and then pulled up, and then they all climbed in. And they all look pretty bad. They're all pretty beat up. I mean, they beat the other guys up, but they look kind of worse for wear themselves. So, anyways, they're all like a little bit unimpressed that Bobby wasn't there. They immediately go to the hospital to tell Gus here, the one that they believe the Barracudas put in the hospital. They want to tell him the good news about the revenge they just got. And he's like, oh, cool, guys. That's really good. I'm not really sure it was the Barracudas, though. And they're like, what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, I'm not really sure. I kind of just said that. Like, but, it could have been someone other gang. And they're like, what the hell? Like, so really, these guys are complete idiots. All of them. None of this was even necessary at all. These are morons.
This is like kind of some dark humor in this movie, man. Like what is going on in this? Like, because people almost got stabbed too in this as well, and they are cut up. It's funny looking too because they have just bandages all over their face, but all the guys are dressed like it's the 70s prom. That's what they all look like. Yeah. It's amazing. They're wearing.
So yeah, now they all feel really stupid, but it's time for the contest. I can't believe that Tony went out and did this right before the contest that he's been practicing for.
Right? This seemed like this happened like maybe 2 hours before, because they had enough time to go to this place, just avoid getting stabbed, like commit vehicular assault, and then just like beat the hell out of each other, go to the hospital, get bandaged up, talk to their friends, and then just like dust themselves off. And Tony's going to just like crack his knuckles now, and they're going to go out and dance.
Yeah, so It's time for the contest. We're really only going to see two couples dance. The first one is Tony and Stephanie. Um, Honestly, this is like, not that I'm really big on all the dancing in this movie at all, but this is one of the lamest dance numbers in the entire movie. And I would like, it's really slow. They're not really doing that great.
I mean, to be fair though, Tony did just kind of get into a fight, right? He got into a gang fight, I guess. So, he's like, let's take it easy on this number. What do you say? So they did a slow number. Maybe that's what happened, right? That's my guess. But you're right. If you're doing a dance contest and this is like the last big number that you're going to do in a big disco dance movie, you'd want to build up to that, right? Like the rap battle again in 8 Mile. Like he has some journeys, some highs, some lows along the way, right? Like I said, his 8 second sex scene and all that stuff, right? Like, and then he becomes something and he goes to the end of the movie and just starts clowning everybody else and wins the rap battle. Like, do you think they would do that in this movie? But there's some different choices they've made in this movie overall, I would say.
So after their performance, it's time for this Latino couple to do a performance. And they're really good. It's much more fast paced. They seem like they've probably done a lot more work choreography wise. Tony says that he's impressed while he's watching them.
This dance couple, the one guy, he kind of looks like somewhere between Jack Black and Paul Rudd, dressed like a magician. But yeah, they're moving, they're killing it on the dance floor here.
Yeah, Tony says like there's no chance we're gonna win.
And then we got our guy Monty here, dressed up. He's kind of like Ron Jeremy, but like a skinny Ron Jeremy. What this guy looks like in the 70s. You're right. He's not a good guy. I take that back. I take that previous thing back. Probably pretty greasy.
Yeah, he looks greasy for sure.
But the contest is over, and that greasy guy, he hands out the #1 trophy to Tony and Stephanie.
Tony really doesn't appear to be very thankful about it. He accepts the trophy begrudgingly though, and he looks like really upset. And everyone's congratulating him, and he's like, "Look, we didn't win this. Like, you guys, no one's being straight with me." And he's basically saying, he's like, "Look, the Spanish couple deserve it. They should have won. They were way better," using like racial slurs to describe them, but he is basically saying that he doesn't deserve this, and that the only reason that they won the contest is because everybody's racist. And Tony let's like kind of grabs the trophy, and I don't know, it was a dollar prize. It was like an envelope or something. And he goes and hands it to the couple that got second place and said, "Hey, you deserve this. This is yours." And walks out. And then we have this like kind of like argument sort of thing with Stephanie, because Stephanie's like, and rightfully so, she's like, "Why'd you just give our trophy away?" Because, they worked for it. This whole movie has been getting to this point, and they got the trophy. And without even consulting her, he just kind of gives it away. So she's upset.
And the money, that's $500 in 1977. So that's like, it's probably a couple $1,000, right? Realistically.
Yeah, when you're making, what, $4 an hour? Yeah, $500 is pretty good.
This is kind of where the movie starts to take a weird turn to me, because like, you're right. Like, it's just anticlimactic. The whole dance wasn't good. And obviously that's probably done on purpose to sort of just delineate, hey, these other people did this crazy number and these guys did this slow number. And obviously Tony should win, but you root for Tony, so you want Tony to win. And he's mad, and he storms out and he gets into a fight with his friends, and he's just like having this whole, it's almost like this moment of like righteous indignation or something, where he's just like talking about how, he, like, his friends are idiots, he thinks, right? And he's kind of almost realizing this now, that his friends are just kind of just bad people. And he just probably should, it almost seems like he's having like, I should straighten my life out kind of moment, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? And he's just, but then while he's having this speech, he's grabbing Stephanie and he's taking her out by the hand. He just kind of leads her over to the car and then just tries to just jump her bones while he's just being about like whatever. And he's going to like change his life and smarten up or something. And it's like, what, but you're just going to go do this now? Like,
yeah, he gets very aggressive with her. And then she kind of like smacks him and she's like, "Get off of me." And then he just tells her off. So yeah, it's weird that it seems like for a moment, he's like somehow developed like a conscience, and like, because he went and beat up an innocent Latino gang, he's like suddenly not racist anymore and gives an award to the Latinos, but he's still not, his conscience still isn't strong enough to like not physically force himself on this girl in the back seat. This girl who the entire movie, for the most part, has said, "I'm not interested in you. Keep this professional." Yeah, it's. I don't know what's going on in his head, man.
For like a half a second, I was like, oh, Tony's just gonna start getting his life together. Right on. He's gonna smarten up and he's gonna be just like a good person and maybe start moving forward in a positive direction in his life. And this movie was gonna start moving in a positive direction. And like I said, there was the one turn, and then so that interaction happened, and then the movie takes another turn here because we're gonna have another thing happen where so now Stephanie's left and Tony's getting out of the car, and there's his friends, and Annette is coming out, and she's kind of got her arm draped over one of his boys there, and they have this moment where Annette kind of looks at Tony like, kind of gives him this look like, yeah, this is what's going on. I'm gonna hook up with your friends, I'm gonna hook up with your friend, kind of thing, right? Because now it looks like this girl Annette and one of Tony's friends are kind of like they're making out a bit now, right? And they're kind of getting close. Tony gets mad now, and he just like grabs Annette and he kind of breaks it up. He's like, "What are you doing?" And all of a sudden, Tony's friends jump in now, and they start fighting amongst each other. And then his friends are like, "Hey, like Tony, you didn't really care about this girl. Like, what's your problem? Like, chill out. It's none of your business, right?" So Tony's like, "Whatever, okay." They all decide to get into the car now. Okay, this is again where the movie takes another turn. So they're all drunk and in the car now, driving down the road from the club, and they're gonna go. Spoiler alert, they're going to go out to the bridge again. And on their way to the bridge, this is where this movie, the first time I watched this, it just blew my mind, okay? So Tony is in the car now, and he's in the front seat with two of his friends, and the one guy that was making out with Annette and Annette are in the back seat now. And they're just like having sex. That's just happening now. And Tony is just drinking, just hanging out, just and he's looking forward like he's in a trance, like in another world. It's almost like he's like thinking like, what am I doing with my life? That's kind of the look I have, where it's like if you already didn't make that analysis, like when you were fighting people, you were getting into gang wars, like I don't know what you were like, where were you, man? Now this is happening. Okay, so the guy and Annette are in the back having sex, and then all of a sudden that abruptly ends. We'll just politely say that, okay? Because he's done. So he, all of a sudden, they pull the car over. And then again, this is where this movie broke my brain again, okay? My mind shattered now, okay? Because what happened is they pull the car over. And Tony's friend gets out from the back seat, and the friend from the front seat swap. And it didn't seem like Annette knew about this at this point in this movie. Now, this other guy and Annette are apparently having sex. And I don't think Annette knew about this.
No, she didn't consent to this. It seemed like she was pretty surprised that this was going to happen. And she's clearly expressed like no in the back seat. Like she these are more than hints. Like that she is not okay with any of this with this guy, like basically forcefully having sex with her. And it's a really dark scene, and it's really weird that Tony is just like in the front seat, like a foot away, just staring ahead, listening to it.
And he's drinking.
Yeah, having a beer. It's actually a very, very uncomfortable scene.
I thought we were dancing. I thought we were disco dancing.
Yeah. The disco stuff is I don't know. It's not, that stuff went away. It got really dark.
We just danced all that out of the movie.
This is what happens when I guess you should just leave before 3 a.m. Don't stay and do disco till like the after hours. Just like go home. Don't go to a bridge. I don't know.
This is the dark side of disco, apparently. This just makes me feel dirty just talking about this. Oh God.
Tony here in the front is just like not doing anything about it. Like I think that's I guess insult to injury. That just seems like it makes it even more uncomfortable that he's just not doing anything about it. And the guy finishes and leaves, and then it's at this point everybody has gotten into the car except for Tony. He's in the front seat, and Annette is in the back seat crying, trying to sort of get her mind together a little bit. She's obviously traumatized, and Tony says to her, they look at each other, and Tony says to her, "Are you proud of yourself?" There, Now you're a and he gets out of the car, and that's like, holy crap, that is mean and cold. Like this girl basically just had, you know, it's hard to, we don't want to use the words on the podcast, but considering what she just went through, that is like just a nasty thing to say. Like Tony is an awful person.
Yeah, like yeah. Tony is not he's not a good guy. This is not a good look for you, John Travolta. I don't think so, sir. I really don't. I don't think so. Any of this, none of you and your friends, your misfit 8 Mile friends. This is not good. But yeah, this again, my mind when that happened afterwards, because it just like when she's sitting there trying to process what just happened, I'm sitting there trying to process what just happened. I was like, what? What? Again, we were disco dancing and this. And then Tony, yeah, he just drops a C-bomb on her again. And he's just like, good. Like, there you go.
Yeah, like shame on you. This is your fault. Like that's like this total victim shaming. Like it's horrible.
That all happens. Okay. So now they're like, they're on the bridge again. This crazy drunk parkour bridge. Okay. And the two dudes are like standing there. And the one guy's got like his pants down and they're drunk and hanging out. And all of a sudden, like, Annette just jumps out of the car. And again, my mind exploded. And I was like, oh no, that poor girl. And so, like, Annette now is like, she's walking along the bridge. Like, she's going to just do something bad. And Tony stops her before she gets out of there, which is like, you're like, thank God. Because I was like, please don't make this movie go for a dark turn, please. Please don't make this movie go any darker, right? You would think. You would think. However, again, they're climbing on stuff.
Yeah, they're doing handstands and stuff.
So Bobby, okay, Bobby is drunk, and if we don't remember who Bobby is, folks, I know it's hard to remember all these guys because there's just so many of them. But Bobby is the fellow again with the girl who's pregnant, and he is basically the horrible, irresponsible dad, and looking for the Pope to bless him, and so he's drunk, and he's literally on the edge right now. He is on the edge of this bridge. And again, this is where my mind, if it wasn't already blown enough, like I said, it just kind of melted now, I guess, because it was already into pieces. So it just melted, just vaporized. It's gone. This went out. It's gone. So Bobby is dancing around on this bridge, and just the next shot is basically a mannequin falling over the side into the water.
Yeah, well, he seems like he's going to commit suicide for a second, and Tony is like talking him down. And he seems like he's actually chosen, like he's not going to, and he's like going to come back to Tony. However, he like loses his footing, and yeah, he falls and he dies.
Yeah, that happened in this movie. Do you see, like, we went from disco dancing to this. This all happened, I swear, in like 7 minutes of this movie. Just forever changed the tone and outlook of this movie. Like, we could have just went to Tony in a paint store, try to get his life together.
Yeah, no, had to go to a dark turn.
They needed this character arc or something in this, apparently. So this is what we got. So the cops show up and they're asking what happened here. And so basically Tony is like, there's ways to kill yourself without killing yourself. Tony makes it seem like this guy almost meant to kill himself accidentally on purpose. So the cops let everybody go. And after all this happened with Annette and the guys, Annette this poor girl doesn't say anything to the police about what happened. And then just goes with these guys. And they all get in the car. And they're just going to drive off now. Like just nothing happened, apparently.
Yeah. They're all drunk, too.
And And on top of everything, okay? This, again, my mind is just like, it exploded. It's gone. And my head is ripped off and it's done because it's incomprehensible how crazy this got and dark. And in like 7 minutes, 8 minutes now, we're at. And Tony storms off because he's like, forget this. Now Tony has like the maybe I should change my life kind of moment. After all this is what it took, all this, for Tony to be like, maybe I should smarten up. That's kind of what it seems like. So Tony storms off now and he gets kind of drunk and wanders off into the streetcar while How Deep Is Your Love plays and goes off into the night.
Yeah, well, he's taking the subway to uh, Manhattan because that's where Stephanie has moved to. Like that's where her new apartment is. So he basically doesn't sleep, stays awake all night, takes the subway to Manhattan. It's daylight by the time he gets there, and he's like completely beat up and still in the same clothes he was wearing the night before, and apologizes to Stephanie and basically says that he wants to get his life together and move to Manhattan. And they agree to do it as friends too. They're not going to have like any kind of like a romance. They're going to keep it professional.
That's kind of just where this movie ends.
Yeah, and that's where the movie ends. How Deep Is Your Love plays, and that's the end of Saturday Night Fever. The whole ending is really odd. I feel like they just wanted to illustrate like what rock bottom really looks like for Tony Manero, but it's like did you really need to go like that far? And it's another one of these movies again, like kind of like Crossroads and Dirty Dancing. Like there's this like other side, like the main character gets through everything pretty reasonably fine, like with no consequences. But these side characters are like just horrible stuff happens to them, and that their story is never like rectified at all. Like Annette, everything that she went through in that movie, she had like a terrible ending, and there's like nothing to redeem her story at all. It's kind of just really sad. And the way Tony treated her like through it, and especially at the end, is just like kind of leaves me speechless. Like it took all the fun disco stuff like away.
Just like if you had a movie, a fun dance movie, and then at the end of it, you were like, let's metaphorically just take this dog out back. Well, not out back, actually, and we'll just murder it in front of a crowd of people just to horrify them. Like, that's kind of what this movie did. You know what I mean? You just took that good time you had and it just nosedived that real quick. That was like, you like this movie? No, here's this horrible, like, did we need that? Did we need, was that a driving plot device in this movie? We needed to do that to poor Annette? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I feel really bad for her. It sticks out so much after the movie's done.
Yeah, and if you want to root for Tony, like I understand having like cheering for anti-heroes or like flawed characters or something like that, but I mean like Tony makes some I can understand Tony just being a kid and not being, sometimes being an idiot and shooting off of the mouth but he's trying to better himself, because he does kind of treat that in the movie a little bit. There's a bit of a character arc there. He's like improving himself and tries to get his relationship with his boss down better and with his family and stuff. You go through all of that stuff where he tries to improve himself, and then you just all of a sudden, why would I like Tony at the end of this movie when he fully just sat there and just listened to all that happen and didn't even like try to do anything and just like listen to it happen and just sat there and drank? And it's like, if aren't you like the puppet master of your friends? Can't you, like, I mean, I know at that point they all had like a falling out where they were all like punching Tony and fighting with Tony, so maybe Tony doesn't have any say, he doesn't think, but it's like, dude, you could like you gotta kind of stop that. That's just not a good thing, like the first time, with your buddy and him, like Annette was cool with that. The second time, she was not cool with that, like I said, to put that lightly.
That was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was like we had a nice fun dance movie, and that's what I thought.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. It really surprised me. Like I didn't expect the movie to go there at all.
This was like a sucker punch, really, is what that was. I was like, holy crap. And that's why I was like, the first time I watched it, my mind was, like I said, just gone and vaporized. And I was like, I texted you, I'm like, you just watch this movie and tell me what you think. Because it's like, am I watching this correctly? What we just watched, like, did they did that? And because this movie too is very highly acclaimed, right? Like it's on IMDb. I think it's got a high score. It's like in the sevens. It's another one that's highly rated, and I'm pretty sure it's like in the Smithsonian for like cultural relevance or something. But it's like,
well, yeah, I was gonna say like this movie like spoke to a culture. There's this. It's probably reasonably accurate and stuff, right? Like as far as what life was like in certain areas.
I hope that part was embellished.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
I hope so. Probably not. But it would be cool if it was.
We're gonna say it is in our world. It is okay. No, that's like this is bad writing. We don't need that in there. That's a definite. This movie took a really dark turn. What do you think?
I thought it kind of came out of nowhere. I felt like there should have been more said at the very end. I don't know what, but it just like it ended on such a dark tone that it's hard to reflect on the movie and be like super pumped for it. Like I don't know. It's weird, but I, I enjoyed the movie for the most part. I feel like it's a half hour too long because of the dancing. Like the dancing, I feel like for where the movie ended, there's just way too much dancing. Like this movie, it didn't need to be like so much stuff at the club. By far, not one of my favorite John Travolta movies at all. As far as like the John Travolta movies I like, this one's pretty low.
Yeah, this is like, I mean, the character is like some of the acting is interesting. Like I like when he's strutting down the street eating his pizza. I thought that was cool. I enjoyed I enjoyed that part. I was laughing. That stuff's funny.
Yeah, I like all the shots of old school New York and stuff. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like the character, and like I said, I watched the second movie, and the character arc in that is basically it's the same thing. Like he literally is just the same person. It does the same stuff, and I was like, oh, but it's just him on Broadway, and Stallone is directing it, so it's pretty interesting. Definitely not worth a watch though. But this is, yeah, I don't know. I think there was something here that is kind of interesting and fun. That definitely the dancing stuff is hilarious, and I think it's interesting to watch that. That part's kind of was like, because that's probably pretty legit to the 70s and what people were doing in the clubs. So I think that's pretty interesting and fascinating. People are wearing these clothes and dancing this like that. The nice thing about my parents doing something like that, my parents in the background with Travolta line dancing, disco and whatever it is. I think that's hilarious, that potential thing. So, and I think the music is really cool too. This is one of those movies I think that's like, it's so bad, but I over just listening to this movie and stuff, again, the soundtrack, something about it, I'm like, damn, it's some pretty good songs.
I think the soundtrack is probably more famous than the movie. Like I think that that's probably a big factor in why the movie is so like acclaimed or like people know about it so much. It's just because like without that soundtrack, I don't think the movie would be nearly successful.
Yeah, definitely that theme, that like that staying alive. That song just kind of like it's like that's a pretty, it's one of those songs that I used to hate, but now just watching this movie, I'm like, it's just a well written song. It's really good. There's something about that really makes that opening shot with him just strutting down the street. That's pretty iconic, and that I've seen before, and that's interesting. And the dancing was really good. And give it to Travolta, like he worked his butt off. Obviously,
Yeah, you can go.
yeah, he could dance. He had some moves, but there's a lot to be desired with this movie. It's like, come on, man. Like, why you could have just please just write better character arcs. Or if this movie's gonna be gritty like this, there's nothing that really redeemed itself, and especially just to kill it at the end like that, it's a hard way to go out.
Yeah, I wish that Tony would have been more of a likable character, but we got what we got.
Yeah, exactly. We got an interesting story, I guess. It's with some good dance moves. The dancing movies I find kind of lend themselves to us doing the show. There's something about these dancing movies. I don't know why, but they're kind of goofy but enjoyable. Oh, except like the ending of this was just that was a tough one.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was a bit of a lemon to the eye, but that's okay. We'll move past it and onward and upward to bigger and better things, I guess.
Yes. On to the next one.
That's right. I don't think we need to say anything else about this. We can just turn the lights off in this discotheque. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, let's shut it down.
So that's it for us in this one. Maybe we'll just let Travolta see you on the way out.
I don't think there's ever been a more cursing in one movie than in Saturday Night Fever.